2023 is almost over, and looking back on the year, I actually played a lot of non-cozy games this year. Now, even though cozy games actually make up the bulk of my gaming time, that is by no means the only game genre that I play. I actually have some, I would say, very eclectic tastes when it comes to games. I play a lot of RPG, a lot of different genres. And so today I'm here to rate all of the non-cozy games that I've played this year. Hi friends, this is Jules, aka the Caffeinated Cozy Gamer. Welcome to my channel and almost Happy New Year! I hope you're having a fantastic holiday season this year, and I'm just here to say, if you enjoy my content, please do not forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a comment down below to tell me what your favorite games of this year were. And without any further ado, let's get into the video! So here we go guys, this is my tier list for the non-cozy games that I've played this year. As you can see, I've played a whopping 11 non-cozy games in 2023, which is actually quite a lot. Mostly RPGs, which makes sense, it being one of my favorite genres, but I do feel like I have a nice variety of genres this year. I'm quite proud of it. So without any further ado, let's start with defining the categories. And now I can tell you outright, there is no games that I hated amongst this list this year. So the way I'm going to be ranking them is I'm going to be starting from bottom to top. For me, the D tier is going to be didn't like it, wasn't for me. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the game had any issues, that it didn't work, that it was bad. It just did not click with me on a personal level. Maybe it wasn't my genre. Maybe I went a little bit out of my comfort zone and I failed. But still, regardless, wasn't for me. Then we have the C tier, and the C tier is for games that are okay. I kind of like them, but they had issues, they could have been better. Maybe there were some technical problems, maybe the game was incomplete, maybe there was still something that I felt in terms of design was not good, but regardless, it was a game that was just okay. That's what I mean for C tier. Then we've got B tier. B tier is for games that are good, solid fun. I really enjoyed them. They were absolutely good. They just were not amazing. They did not stand out as the cream of the crop. Still, total recommendation though. Then we have the A tier, which stands for amazing, absolutely brilliant. These are games that I really loved, that I keep playing, that perhaps I haven't finished, I'm still playing to this day. So it's something that I've really enjoyed, that I love spending time in. So it's a total recommendation again. Amazing game, just not top of the top. And then we have the S tier, which is for incredible, near perfect games that are new all-time favorites that I cannot stop playing. If I'm not playing them, I'm thinking about them. So you get the gist. They are for essentially the masterpieces that I feel that I played this year. Now, without any further ado, let's begin with the first game, Octopath Traveler 2. RPGs have always been one of my favorite genres ever since I was a kid, and I ended up adoring the first Octopath Traveler game when I played it in 2019. The HD 2D art style, the old school mechanics, the drop-dead gorgeous soundtrack that I listen to on loop when I'm working even to this day, that game was perfection in JRPG form for me. And yet somehow Octopath Traveler 2 surpasses its predecessor in every single aspect. The graphics are more polished and beautiful, the music is somehow even better, the combat has been tweaked, and most importantly, both the characters and their interactions with each other have been considerably fleshed out. The stories of our 8 protagonists have been considerably improved as well, and I loved every single one of them. From helping Oswald seek vengeance for the death of his family, to finding out about Cassie's past, from reclaiming Hikari's kingdom to leading Throne A to freedom. Even the characters whose stories held far lower stakes, like Agnia the dancers and Particio the merchants, were fun and memorable and fit well within the wider narrative, leading to an experience that felt far more cohesive than the first game. Overall, I played this game for far over 100 hours and have not gotten tired of it yet. In my opinion, Octopath Traveler 2 reaches the same heights as Dragon Quest XI, which is probably my favorite JRPG of all time, and is fully deserving of the very top of the A tier. Next, we have Bayonetta Origins, CEREZA and the Lost Demon. I will be honest, I have never touched a Bayonetta game. The frantic button mashing action just isn't for me, and I've never felt the need to try any games in this series out. That is, until I saw the reveal of Bayonetta Origins, CEREZA and the Lost Demon during a Nintendo Direct, and immediately knew that I had to play this game. The watercolor storybook art style is nothing short of amazing, and creates a perfect, spooky yet charming fairy tale atmosphere when coupled with the haunting orchestral score and the ethereal Gaelic vocals. The game has the player control a young Bayonetta with one side of the controller, and her possessed cat doll Cheshire with the other. Though the controls took a couple of hours to fully click for me, I soon found myself really enjoying the challenge, solving puzzles and smiting monsters as I explored the haunted forest setting in search of Bayonetta's mother. Though a bit shorter than I expected, clocking in at around 18 hours of playtime, I still thoroughly enjoyed this game and can confidently place it in the B tier as a solid puzzle adventure. Next, we have Cult of the Lamb. Now, I am not a big fan of roguelike in general. Even Hades, which I simply had to give a chance to on the account of being a huge fan of Greek mythology, was just not able to maintain my interest for longer than a few hours before I grew frustrated and abandoned the game altogether, even though it is considered the pinnacle of the genre in terms of mechanic and designs. But Cult of the Lamb, with its cutesy aesthetic, camp management elements, and Tim Burton-esque creepy atmosphere, looked like it might be right up my alley. So I pulled the trigger on a recent sale and gave the game a chance. To be honest, I really enjoyed this game for a little bit. I ended up playing around 15 hours in the matter of a few days, rescuing new cult members, building huts and a chapel, and mining and logging facilities to keep everyone happy while they worked and danced in honor of my lamb god in idyllic bliss. And yet, after a while, the game just started losing steam for me. Maybe it was the increasingly longer stretches of time I had to spend in the dungeons, maybe it was the fact that I had to start sacrificing my adorable little cult members to progress, but I just got to a point where playing it felt like a chore, which was when I put the game down and then never picked it back up again. I wanted to like it, I really did, but it just wasn't for me. Because of this, I'm afraid that Cult of the Lamb belongs in the D tier of my list. Next, we have Persona 5 Royal. Friends have been recommending the Persona series to me since the days of Persona 4 Golden on the now very defunct PlayStation Vita, but I somehow never ended up giving these games a chance. That is, until I impulse purchased Persona 5 Royal on an eShop sale earlier this year, and oh boy was I missing out. This RPG is simply put huge, with literally hundreds of hours of content packed into an incredibly polished experience, adorned with colourful anime graphics and an incredibly catchy acid jazz soundtrack. I loved the depth of the combat system just as much as I enjoyed the slower slice-of-life sim elements, and was pleasantly surprised by the sheer depth of the story. In spite of the bright anime graphics, this is very much not a game for children, unafraid to dip into some rather dark themes without skirting around them, and I surprisingly found that I appreciated the grittiness as it lended even more weight to the characters and their backstories. Even after 50 hours, I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of this game and look forward to playing more of it in 2024. It is a B-tier game for me right now, but I would honestly not be surprised if it ends up landing in A or even S tier in next year's version of this list. Now guys, we have Baldur's Gate 3. Right off the bat, I expected to like Baldur's Gate 3. I'm a big fan of RPGs, I adore a medieval high fantasy setting, and I used to play D&D back in my uni days, so I was the perfect candidate for this game. However, I wasn't expecting to like it quite this much, that's for sure. I've had this game for less than 2 weeks, since my husband and I decided to each buy a Steam copy at the beginning of our Christmas break to play in co-op. And when I say that I cannot stop thinking about this game, I really truly mean it. I have 2 parallel files going on, a co-op campaign where I play as a dramatic, over-the-top half-elf bard, and a single-player one when I play as a wood elf druid set on making the world a better place. If I am not playing this game, I am thinking about it, considering what strategies to adopt in the Hag's Hut, how to approach the Gnoll's Den without getting overwhelmed and getting my entire party wiped out, where to look for an entrance to the Underdark, and so many other things. I am so invested in this game, I am literally dreaming about it at night, which is something that has not happened since Animal Crossing New Horizons released in the midst of a worldwide shutdown, and all I did was play that game for 12 hours a day for weeks to keep busy. And the reason why I am so obsessed with this game is it's, well, everything. The characters are amazingly developed, both thanks to the incredible writing and to the amazing voice and motion capture performances from the acting cast. The quests are fun and fleshed out, and a far cry from the fetch quest galore type of approach that so many RPGs seem to go for these days. The environments are impossibly detailed and interactable and amazing to explore, both solo and with friends. I love how my dialogue choices actually matter, how the outcome of one quest can come back to bite me later down the line via an unexpected, unpredictable butterfly effect, how nuanced the NPC interactions can be based on my chosen race of class. This world feels alive in a way that I have rarely experienced in a video game before, and it continues to amaze me every time I log back in. Now that I am playing, I really understand why this game won every possible award this year, because it really, truly deserves it. Baldur's Gate 3 is a masterpiece and a masterclass of a game, and I hope that Larian's incredible work will pioneer a shift in the current gaming industry trends, finally putting an end to the soulless, cookie-cutter RPGs that seem to have become the norm these days. Baldur's Gate 3 is, without a doubt, an S-tier game for me, and one that I cannot wait to spend several more hundred hours in over the next year. Bravo, Larian Studios. The next game on the list is Pokemon Violet. Now, I have been a Pokemon fan since I was 4 years old and first came across the anime and trading cards, and I've played every single mainline game, and quite a few spin-offs, since I received a Nintendo DS and a copy of Pokemon Ruby for my first communion way back in 2005. And I find that, for the first time ever, I am conflicted about a Pokemon game. From a fun perspective, Violet was a blast. Running around, catching Pokemon, and mixing my old favorites with brand new exciting ones in ever-changing teams never really gets old. And I loved how well fleshed out the rivals and story felt this time around. I loved a lot of the new designs, with Tinkaton being my absolute favorite, and especially appreciated how we actually got to build a relationship with the titular legendary by having them be our constant companion rather than just something to toss a Master Ball at in the endgame phase. In these areas, I absolutely think the game aced it. However, and this is the big one, I have a big, giant, glaring issue with this game, and it is the performance, or should I say perhaps the lack of it. Stuttery frame rates, Pokemon that pop in and out of existence only a few feet away from the player, textures moving when changing the camera angle, Pokemon and players getting stuck in walls, crashes and glitches galore. I have honestly never seen a Nintendo-published game run this poorly ever. And I've been playing since the GameCube, okay? The new Terra Raids, for me, are just the worst offenders in this case. The timer system is so buggy and so poorly implemented that it has single-handedly caused me to lose raids due to the constant freezes and turn skips that are entirely outside of my control. I have spent dozens of hours in max raids on Pokemon Sword and Shield after completing the games, but I find the buggy Terra raids so frustrating that I've given up on them altogether. With games like Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, the Xenoblade Chronicles Trilogy, and Dragon Quest XI running buttery smooth on the Nintendo Switch, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's technical issues truly feel inexcusable to me, and are made all the worse by the fact that over a year and 2 rounds of DLC later, they still have not been patched even a little bit. Because I did end up enjoying the game, I cannot put it any lower than the C tier, but I've got to be honest, it's a close call. I really hope that Game Freak sort their act out for the next game, but I will not be holding my breath while I wait. Next, we have Fire Emblem Engage. Having been a Fire Emblem fan since coming across Awakening on 3DS by complete chance around a decade ago, saying that I was hyped for Fire Emblem Engage when it released was an understatement. I dived in the very moment it released, and for the most part, I thoroughly enjoyed the roughly 100 hours I spent between the main campaign and the DLC expansion. Yes, the main character had toothpaste hair, for lack of a better term, which may have been a questionable design, but the rest of the game's design was polished as heck. The character designs were great, the graphics were beautiful, and the story was, as far as Fire Emblem goes, actually pretty good. The combat was smooth, the maps were varied, and I loved how the battles took place in the exact spot on the map that you were standing in, meticulously rendered in gorgeous 3D detail. The emblems mechanic was also really fun, and I actually spent quite a lot of time matching my favorite characters with the most appropriate emblems to turn them into veritable powerhouses on the battlefield. By any and all accounts, it is a great game. And yet, I still found myself not quite enjoying it to the same extent as Awakening, Fates, and Three Houses, all of which I played through multiple times and spent several hundreds of hours in each. Though I enjoyed it, Engage just did not have the same level of staying power for me. And I honestly do not see myself wanting to replay it in the future, as I have other games in the series, even though I have to be honest, I'm not entirely sure why. Perhaps it was the characters not being as fleshed out as the cast in Three Houses. Perhaps it was the fact that a lot of the social simulation aspect, which I do enjoy a lot, was done away with in favor of a more streamlined experience this time. Or perhaps it's just that the game offers little replay value once the credits roll, giving me no incentive to dive back in for another playthrough. Maybe it's a combination of all of these factors, who knows? Overall, Fire Emblem Engage is still a heck of a lot of fun. It's just not quite as good as other entries in the series were for me. Still, it is a solid B-tier game and would thoroughly recommend it to any fans of the genre. The next game is Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I am not usually a fan of 2D platformers, and previous games in the new Super Mario Bros. Series have been alright at best in my opinion. Please don't come for me with pitchforks and torches. But Wonder has honestly been one of the best games I've played this year, and probably the best 2D platformer I have ever gotten my grubby little gamer hands on. I love that Nintendo finally did away with the time limit on the levels, and every single level in this game simply exudes polish in every aspect, from the level design to the unbelievably detailed animations. The way Mario reaches back when entering a pipe to snag his runaway hat, and then looks both ways for enemies before stepping out, the way Elephant Peach teeters precariously on the edge of a platform trying not to fall, even the way Goombas look absolutely horrified when they realize Luigi is about to land on their head, every single animation is delightful and truly worth of a Pixar movie level of quality, and I never fail to giggle when playing this game. The Wonder Flowers are also probably the best idea to ever be implemented in a 2D Mario game, and I love hunting them down in every level and then waiting with childlike levels of glee to see how the world around me is going to change in response. Wonder truly gave me the same feeling of joy and, well, wonder that I rarely feel as an adult gamer, and I absolutely adore it. It is without a doubt an A-tier game in my book, and one I might even replay further down the line, which would be a first for this series when it comes to yours truly. Next, we have Genshin Impact. To be honest, I first downloaded Genshin Impact on my PS4 when it released in 2020, and then promptly forgot about its existence until I installed it on my new gaming PC earlier this year to test it out. Though it was initially touted as a Breath of the Wild clone when it released, this game has really evolved into something far greater than that, and I surprisingly found that I did not just like it, I loved it. The graphics are beautiful, the combat is fun and surprisingly deep, the musical score and a large portion of the voice performances are nothing short of amazing, and I absolutely adored the new underwater exploration mechanics introduced with the latest region of Fontaine this past summer. I have spent countless hours running around the world in co-op with my little cousin this year, and I've enjoyed every single second of it. Even now that I'm actually fully caught up with the story, I still play for a half hour every morning while I have my coffee to do my daily quests and do a little bit of exploration, and I'm honestly just having a blast. It is still a free-to-play gacha game with all of the issues that come with it, but honestly it does not feel like one, which I think is why I'm enjoying it quite this much. It is my unexpected sleeper hit this year, to be honest, and an undisputed A-tier game, in my opinion. The next game on the list is The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, and oh boy am I excited to talk about this one. The Legend of Zelda holds a special place in my heart, with The Wind Waker way back on GameCube being not only the game that made me discover one of my favorite series of all time, but also the game that truly made me fall in love with gaming as a hobby when I was a kid. When I played Breath of the Wild back in 2017, I thought honestly that no game would ever top it, and yet here is Tears of the Kingdom proving me wrong. Everything that Breath of the Wild did right, Tears of the Kingdom did better, on top of fixing the two main issues I had with its predecessor, namely the lack of story content and the lack of more traditional dungeons. The side of the world is simply astounding, between the Sky Islands, the surface of Hyrule and the depths below, and the fact that the game runs so well on the aging Nintendo Switch hardware is nothing short of a technical miracle in my book. Not to mention the Ultra Hand mechanic, which gives players carte blanche to build whatever contraption they desire without skipping a beat. The environments are also a joy to explore, pulling me away from the main quest every few minutes with caves and wells to explore, enemies to fight, Koroks and hapless sign holders to help, and everything in between. It was the same Hyrule I remembered from Breath of the Wild, and yet it felt fresh and new and exciting, to the point that I rarely ever felt like I was simply retreading my steps from 6 years ago. The depths only added to this, and I still feel the hairs on my arms stand on end when I hear the horn play that deep, ominous note as I approach the bottom of the chasm. No matter how many hours I spend in this game, the initial moment when Link is plunged into complete darkness and I have to fumble for a source of light always makes my heart pound in my chest. It is, in my eyes, a near-perfect game and fully deserving of the S tier. It truly is a masterpiece. The final game on the list is Hogwarts Legacy. Now, I would like to preface my comments about this game with the fact that I do not agree with the opinions of the author of the Harry Potter series regarding LGBTQ matters. That said, I believe in separating the art from the artist and still deeply love the Harry Potter universe, as the books were a big part of my childhood and still bring me a lot of comfort as an adult. Now, onto the game. As any 90s kid who grew up loving the Harry Potter books, I was immediately interested when this RPG was announced. Being able to play as a Hogwarts student in the 1800s, flying brooms, slinging spells, and exploring a fully open world setting that I could have only dreamed about when playing the original games way back on the PS2 as a kid, it seemed almost too good to be true. And yet, the developers, in my opinion, actually delivered. The castle and grounds are enormous and a joy to explore, with puzzles, treasures, and side quests sprinkled around every corner. The story is fun, if a little cliché, and I truly felt like a little kid at Christmas for the entirety of the time that I spent in this game. Would I have felt the same way about this game if it had been set in a random castle in the Scottish Highlands with no connection to the Harry Potter universe whatsoever? Most probably not, as this is truly a game tailor-made for fans of the series, I think. But as it stands, I really enjoyed it, and I'm fully planning to do another playthrough in 2024. So for me, Hogwarts Legacy is firmly in the B category as a good, solid, fun, open-world RPG. So that's it, friends. This is the tier list of the known cozy games that I've played in 2023. Now, if you are still watching the video, I really appreciate you sticking with me to the end. You guys are awesome. If you enjoy my content, please do not forget to like and subscribe. And have you played any of these games? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'd love to talk about the games that I love more with other gamers. And also let me know if some of your top games of 2023 are not on my list, because I'm always up for good recommendations. Anywho, guys, thanks again. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye!